Hi, I just wanted to post a bit of a more in-depth tutorial about doing a rucksack back carry with your ring sling. I posted a tutorial earlier which essentially shows you how to get into the carry, and I just wanted to do a little more in-depth learning for people who wanted to kind of perfect the carry, get it more comfortable for you, or who just wanted to learn a little bit more to see if this carry is appropriate for you and your baby. Give you a few tips for getting a good fit. So I'm going to cover what age kind of is appropriate for your baby for doing this carry. A few tips on just kind of positioning your sling before you get started and wrapping the whole thing to make sure it all ends up kind of in the right place. A couple safety tips, as well as a couple skills that are helpful to have if you're going to do this with your ring sling, because it kind of mimics a very common simple wrap carry. So if you've never carried with a wrap, or you've never carried on your back with a ring sling or a wrap, I'll give you a couple tips on just a couple individual skills that you can practice a few times before you go through and do the whole thing. That'll make your carry a lot more secure and comfortable, and probably be a good thing to practice kind of over a bed or with a spotter to make sure you have that skill down before supermaning baby onto your back and trying to figure out how to get the carry wrapped up. It'll just make it a little bit safer and a little more of like a comfortable experience for everyone. So to start, babies that are perfect for this carry, typically they recommend that you wait until your baby can sit up independently before back carrying. That's usually around 6 months. However, that is not your, what would I say? If you're an experienced wrapper, or if you have a carrier that is appropriate for back carrying, for example, a naked panda on Behemo, you can carry an infant in safely. It was tested for that. Or if you use a wrap, there are certain carries that you can do that are appropriate for kids before they're sitting up, even from infancy. And so what I would recommend is, if you're not familiar with back carrying a small child, then work one-on-one with a baby-wearing educator. They can do fit checks, make sure you're doing it appropriately and safely, and they will also teach you how to monitor your baby appropriately so that when they're on your back, you can know that their airway is clear, that they're doing great, that your fit is good, and that it's a healthy and safe carry for everybody. Carries that typically are safe for smaller babies are ones that keep them really high on your back, so their head is kind of going to be resting basically on your neck. Basically the younger they are, typically the higher they need to be. That way you can feel their breathing on your neck. You know that their airway isn't obstructed. They're not sitting low on your back to where you can't monitor them. So again, really good idea to check with a baby-wearing educator if you want to do an early back carry. It can be a really great skill as a parent, especially if you're touched out. Or if you need to get stuff done, you have a bunch of kids where you're having to bend over and help them. An early comfortable back carry is a fantastic tool, and I've really enjoyed doing it with my second child. Didn't do it with my first. It's been a really great experience to be able to do that with my my baby younger than I did with my first. Okay, next off, before you do this carry, as you Superman baby onto your back, like I said in my video, your rings are going to land kind of here and baby's behind you. You want to make sure your rings are up in corsage position or slightly higher. That is because you need space to get all the slack out of your carry, and you're going to be pulling down on the tails, which is going to bring this down. If it starts out kind of down here and you go through and do your carry, and then you get this, I don't have a baby in here, I'm gonna show you, and then you get this threaded through and pull, these rings are gonna essentially start going underneath your baby's legs or hitting baby's legs, and you're not gonna be able to pull any more slack out. And then you're kind of gonna be stuck with a low, more uncomfortable carry. Versus if you start with it up higher and then go through and do your carry, even if it's a little behind your back, and let's say you pull it to here, it's still gonna be a lot more comfortable, and you're gonna have a lot more space to pull all of that slack out. Bounce your baby as you do it, pull a section at a time, get that baby nice and high. Your baby's shoulders should be even with your shoulders. So that's kind of how you know if you have them high enough, is their shoulders should be kind of parallel. I guess that makes sense, parallel. Anyways, with yours. And then a couple considerations for skills that are good to have if you're gonna back carry with a wrap or even doing this carry, because essentially it's kind of like a ruck wrap carry with the addition of the rings to make it a little easier for you. If when you go and wrap a baby on your back, like in my video, I don't have my baby right now because he's sleeping, but when you get your baby on your back and pin your rails, I might grab, I wonder if I have a stuffed animal I could grab or something. Anyways, pretend I have a baby. You pull, this top rail is what keeps your baby secure and on your back. So your top rail needs to be pinned super tight before you let go of your baby. So you put baby on your back and you see me pinning my top rails with my teeth. That is the first thing you're going to do before you put your hands anywhere. So until your top rail is pinned really, really tight, you want to make sure to always keep a hand on baby. Always a good idea to kind of keep a hand on baby even as you're going through and doing everything, especially if you're newer to it. And practicing over a bed, like on your knees, is a great option too, or with a spotter. But as you, with those top rails, you want to pull them super, super tight. It's gonna be way tighter than you feel like it needs to be. And you wanna hold it super tight in your teeth and make sure, obviously you won't be talking like me, so you're not gonna let go of it. But if your top rail is tight enough, if you're back wrapping or back slinging your baby, you should be able to stand up straight with your baby, with your rails pinned, your baby in there with no deep seat, and they will not fall out. The top rail is what keeps your baby on your back. And this is kind of a core fundamental of back carrying. But especially with a ruck, this, even if it's over their shoulders or under their armpits, is going to keep them on your back. And then getting all the slack out of that middle is also going to help keep them on your back and keep them safe. The deep seat with back wrapping and that sort of thing is an extra. The deep seat is not keeping your baby in it. If they pop their seat, they're gonna be safe. They're not gonna fall out as long as all of the slack is tightened out of this top rail. So learn to trust the top rail and maybe practice that a little before you go through and do the whole carry. Don't rely on that pass going underneath baby's legs to kind of hold them in. It's just not gonna be as comfortable. However, that bottom pass that you see going underneath both of baby's legs, so you wanna make sure that it is sitting, so they're gonna kind of sit on it like that. That's also gonna help keep them in the carry. So those are the two things you need to have a nice, secure, and safe carry is tight top rail, and then that pass going underneath both the baby's legs behind them, not behind one, not in front of them, behind. That is gonna keep them nice and happy. And then as you kind of go along, once you get baby in your carry, in order to tighten, as you go through and tighten it out section by section with the slack, bounce your baby up. You can even kind of pat them a little bit, you know, push them up a little bit with one hand if needed as you get the slack out to keep them nice and high. And there's one more thing. I'll make a separate video showing how to work the slack out of your carry into your rings. But essentially, like for example, if you had your baby in there, this in here, let's say you had a little slack behind you and your baby is like leaning back like they're in a recliner. They shouldn't be in a recliner, they should be pulled tight. If you were working the slack out from there, here's your rings and your baby's here, you could pull like that, pull your baby tight against you, and then you would pull on this rail, and again you would follow the rails along your carry. See here, this is a terrible example again because there's no baby. I'll make a better video. And then tighten that out. So just like with a regular ring sling, if you need to tighten slack out of a certain part, you're gonna work it through with your hands all the way through your entire carry. Work it up towards your ring, so you'll have like that little bit there, and then kind of always a good idea to kind of bounce as you tighten and then kind of pull out and tighten that way. So you're not just pulling your rings down super low. All right, there's a few tips and tricks as you get started. If I think of anything else, I'll make another video, but I hope this is helpful. If this carry and baby back wrapping and everything is completely new to you in general, I'll also try to either make or post a video for tightening the top rail. And mostly that, just as like a back carry boot camp type thing. I know there's some good groups for that. So I can always refer you to those resources if you want to watch some more in-depth videos about that. All right.